Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome to another episode of Jets Talk. And this one, we have a special guest, Jake from the Jake Asman Show. How's it going, Jake?
Richie, I'm doing great, man. It's exciting time to be a Jet fan, of course. And, great to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I'm super excited. In this episode, we're going to talk about everything related to the New York Jets. Yesterday, we saw the Jets take on the Green Bay Packers. We had a crazy joint practice week against them. Unfortunately, we know the devastating news with Carl Lawson. But on the flip side, we saw Zach Wilson go out there and perform for a second time in the NFL preseason, and he looked really good. We're going to dissect everything about Zach Wilson. We're going to talk about all the positives and negatives coming out of preseason and what to expect from this Jets team going into the regular season. And then we got an actual just breaking news from Adam Schefter that the Jets are actually exploring some trade opportunities to bring in a veteran pass rusher to fill in the void for the loss of Carl Lawson. So we're going to get into all of that in this stream. But before we get into Jets talk, Jake, do you want to introduce yourself for the people that don't know who you are? You have a YouTube channel all about the Jets. You're on ESPN down in Houston. So let everybody know what you're doing.
Yeah, you basically just covered it. I have a YouTube channel. It's just my name, Jake Asman, and I post daily videos, mostly Jets related, but also segments from either my national radio show or from my now local show in drive time on ESPN 97.5 here in Houston. So huge Jet fan, grew up on Long Island, obviously, big New York sports fan in general. But right now I live here in Houston. I've lived here the last 3 years, and it's been fun to still have the YouTube platform to still talk about the Jets. And I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if you do not know, Jake has a YouTube channel, like he mentioned, and it's down below in the description. So make sure you click that link, go give him the subscription, and also his Twitter is down below as well. So make sure you follow him. Got great content over there. So we're going to get right into it, Jake. Let's talk about the man, Zach Wilson, because he went out there and looked like a very calm, poised, comfortable quarterback. And yes, we can't read too much into preseason. He's going against the second team and all that stuff. But what has been your impressions from Zach Wilson in his first two starts in the NFL preseason?
I've been impressed. I mean, obviously, you said it best. It's you're talking about only 2 games. You're talking about mostly backups that he's facing in his first game against the Giants, and certainly mostly backups in his second game against Green Bay yesterday, Richie. But look, Zach Wilson so far has played the part of a franchise quarterback. He has been decisive with his decisions. He has not turned the ball over. He has shown deep ball accuracy. He has made big plays on third down. He has shown a chemistry already with Corey Davis, which should excite every Jets fan. I think you get Elijah Moore back into the mix this week at practice, and that should open up the offense even more when you have Davis and Moore. You're not going to be able to cover both those guys with double teams. So I'm really excited to see, what this offense could potentially look like. But, overall, I think if you're a Jets fan, what you've seen from Zach Wilson has to make you feel good about where he's at. Doesn't mean that he's the guy. Doesn't mean that he's going to be an all-time great quarterback. I'm not saying that, but obviously if he played poorly, people would be making a big deal over that. So I think the fact that he's played really well, he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I'll tell you what, I have never been just more excited to see what he could do in this offense when we get to the regular season.
It's just so refreshing seeing this offense with Mike LaFleur. That second touchdown yesterday to Tyler Kroft, that was Mike LaFleur's touchdown. That was a beautiful play design, and it's something as Jets fans we're not used to. We're coming off 2 seasons with Adam Gase, and it's just very refreshing. And you mentioned it, Elijah Moore not even playing right now with a quad injury, and Zach Wilson still looking good. So imagine what's going to happen when we get Elijah Moore, and not to mention Elijah Vera-Tucker back at left guard. The good news about Zach Wilson is he's not been sacked once, and yes, we've not been going up against the first-team pass rush yet, but the boys up front, Mekhi Becton looks really good in every single game so far, even though in practice he's been struggling. going. It's really good to see Mekhi bounce back on game day when it matters the most. And we saw Zach Wilson's favorite target is indeed Corey Davis. So what's your thoughts of Corey Davis? Do you think he's going to be a number one receiver for the Jets? Because yesterday he looked so good. It looked like Zach, when he's improvising, we saw that awesome throw when he rolled to his left. There was nothing there. A little pressure got to him, so he rolled to his right and found Corey Davis on the sideline. So it looks like that's his favorite target, even though we have not seen Elijah Moore yet. So what's your expectations from Corey Davis, and do you think he's going to be a true number one receiver for the Jets?
Yeah, I do. I think the Jets made the investment in Corey Davis because they looked at his fit in the offense. I mean, first off, the guy is a really, really good run blocker. So I think that's going to help. The West Coast scheme the Jets are going to be running, where they're going to have multiple running backs. They're going to use the screen game. I think just a guy that can really block in space like Corey Davis is so valuable for the offense they're going to be running. And I also think the Jets made the investment in Corey Davis because I looked at it like this guy was a top 5 pick in the draft because of his freakish skills at his size. And then you also factor in they think they're getting him as he enters his prime right now. He's only, I believe, 26 years old. So I'm very excited about what he could do. It's been nice to see the chemistry early on here between him and Zach Wilson. I think the fact that Wilson keeps going to him on third down is a great sign. That first completion on the opening drive, 3rd and 8, Wilson dropping back and just throwing a dart over the middle. That was a great ball. That was an impressive throw, impressive catch. I'm very excited about Corey Davis, and I think he's only going to get much better as better players are around him, right? So I think, as I mentioned, when Elijah Moore comes back, I think he opens up the whole offense, and a guy like Corey Davis is really going to be able to feast.
So what was your thoughts of yesterday's game outside of Zach Wilson? We saw the Jets' first-team defense. They didn't look too good against the Packers' second-team offense. They were struggling, even though we did not have all of our starters out there. Quinn Williams still not there. We got the first taste of the defense without Carl Lawson. So what was your thoughts of the overall defense? Because the first team didn't look too good, but on the flip side, in the second half, the young second-team defense, all the rookies, we had Hamza Nasruddin out there, Jamian Sherwood, Brandon Eccles, all the undrafted free agents, all the rookies out there, and the defense gave up 0 points in the second half. So what was your overall impressions from the Jets defense yesterday against the Packers?
Yeah, it was up and down. You mentioned it. The second half, they were obviously a lot better. The thing I'll say is they clearly are still missing some key guys, on that defensive front. I mean, do the Packers go right down the field if Quinn Williams is playing, in that defensive front at all at the beginning of this game? I'm not sure. So it's tough to truly evaluate what this Jets defense is. Obviously, no Carl Lawson, which is a huge blow. And then you get the tweet moments ago from Adam Schefter about the Jets possibly looking to trade for a pass rusher to improve, their defensive line, because they didn't really have any rush yesterday when the starters were out there. So, that's something that you have to certainly monitor. But overall, there were some bright spots for this defense. I'm not going to make too much of it, good or bad. It's only the preseason. But yeah, there's no doubt there's some key players on this team, young players on this team that are going to see a lot of time this year. And that's why, if you're a Jet fan, this year is really about the young players developing, especially, of course, we know about the quarterback, but there are key guys in the secondary that are going to get that opportunity, Richie. So, overall, not bad, not great. It kind of is what it is. And you'll see if the Jets defense could build on, what they've done so far in the preseason into that final preseason game against the Eagles next Friday.
Now, staying on the defensive side of the ball, this is a topic that Jets fans would like to avoid because it really breaks our heart every time we talk about it. But how do you think the loss of Carl Lawson will impact his defense? So, like you just mentioned, and we talked about it right when the stream started, we got a tweet from Adam Schefter that they're going to go out there and explore a trade opportunity to bring in a veteran pass rusher. So, how is the Carl Lawson, loss going to affect the Jets defense, whether it's the locker room, the coaching staff? I feel like if there's one position group to get hit with an injury that I'm comfortable with, it definitely is the defensive line, because that's our best position. But the problem is it was the best player on that defensive line outside of Quinn Williams. They play different positions. And Jets fans were so hopeful about Carl Lawson because he is having such a great training camp, unblockable. And we thought that we're going to get our first pass rusher since Abraham and all that stuff. So what do you think the Jets need to do to adjust, whether it's going out there and trading for a guy or just having that next man up mentality?
Yeah, I think they obviously should look to trading for somebody. I don't know how realistic it is, but I just, threw it out there on Twitter moments ago. How about, trying to get Chandler Jones if he's truly unhappy with his contract situation with the Cardinals, right? Take some of the picks you got in the Sam Darnold trade and turn Sam Darnold into Chandler Jones. Now, that would be nice if you're a Jet fan. I don't know how realistic that is, but I think they do need to, try and upgrade to that position. Olivier Vernon is out there as a free agent. Maybe you could bring him in and see if he could be a contributor on this defense. But, Richie, there's no doubt losing Carl Lawson is a huge loss. I mean, you can't beat around the bush. You can't sugarcoat it. This guy was probably going to be their best defensive player, on the team. He already was in training camp, and he was solving the problem the Jets have had since John Abraham, right? The elite edge rusher for this defense. So losing him stinks. It is a huge blow. You are right. They do have depth at the defensive line, but Carl Lawson was like the Captain America on that defensive line. Like, he made everything go, and then everyone else got to play off of him in their role. So clearly guys do need to step up, but losing him is such a brutal blow. And it's unfortunate. I'm not going to sit here and say, the season's over, because that would imply, we had playoff expectations for the Jets. And I think most Jet fans are realistic about what this team is. But it is certainly a brutal blow. And, you hope he could come back and, still be a dominant player next year. But you just never know when you talk about a guy that has torn his knee up twice and now dealing with an Achilles tendon tear. It's just a brutal loss for the defense.
Yeah, it's very devastating. And I feel like some Jets fans forget that we actually do have a veteran pass rusher on the roster that has not been playing in training camp with an injury, and that's Vinny Curry. He's going to be with us week 2, so that can be a really big addition. He's a Super Bowl champion, and I always compared him to a guy like Steve McClendon, like that we have for the past couple of years in terms of just a veteran leadership. McClendon and Curry plays 2 different positions. McClendon was a defensive tackle up the middle, and Curry was the edge rusher, but I just love that, they're bringing in the 32-year-old veteran. So hopefully Vinny Curry can get healthy and come in here, because we definitely need depth. So what's your thoughts of guys like John Franklin Myers, Bryce Huff, and the entire defensive line, even Quinnen Williams? Because I thought that Quinnen Williams was going to have a very, very good season this year, simply because Carl Lawson was going to get so much pressure, what's going to open things up for him. So how do you think this defensive line is going to look without Carl Lawson? And what are your thoughts of everybody like Bryce Huff, JFM, and all these guys?
Yeah, I'm high on those guys. I think they're going to be impactful players, but I think Lawson's the guy that would make everything go on the defense, right? I mean, you said it. I think Quinnen Williams was going to have an all-pro season if you can't double team him up the middle because you're worried about Carl Lawson on the outside. Now, I will say this. If any coach can handle the loss of a star defensive end, it's Robert Saleh, because he just did it last year in San Francisco when they lost Nick Bosa, when they lost a bunch of guys on that defensive front. So I think Saleh's got experience, trying to scheme around losing a star defensive player, which is certainly a good thing. But obviously, it's a huge blow. As far as the other guys on this defensive line, I thought John Franklin Myers last year played well in what was obviously a disastrous season for every Jet fan. I think a guy like Bryce Huff has shown some signs this summer that he could really emerge and be a contributor on this defensive line in his second year. Obviously, Quinnen Williams is going to be great no matter what. He's really proved that over the last couple seasons that he's turning into, a player that was picked number 3 in the draft for a reason. So he's got to have to be your catalyst, your anchor on that defensive front, but you're going to need guys like Sheldon Rankins to step up. You're going to need guys like Vinny Curry when he's back to make some plays. It's going to kind of be, a pass rusher by committee and now on that defensive front. And let's see if Joe Douglas does go out there and maybe try and make a move to bring in somebody else to try and make up for the loss of Carl Lawson.
Agree, man. Agree. And guys, make sure you smash that thumbs up button if you did not already. We have around 70 people watching. We got Jake joining the show. Make sure you guys subscribe to his channel down below and follow him on Twitter. He's a great Jets YouTuber, does awesome things covering the Houston sports down in Houston. So make sure you check Jake out. So now let's transition into the offensive side of the ball. I want to talk about the run game, because we know that this is a ground and pound approach. The Mike LaFleur offense, if the run game's not there, then the offense will not, flourish as we hope. And so what was your impressions for the Jets offensive line in the run game yesterday in terms of, opening up holes? We got Tevin Coleman's first taste of what he can do as a Jet, because against the Giants, he was not there. So in my opinion, I feel like the depth chart right now, even though it's going to be a running back by committee approach, but it seems like it's Coleman number 1, Johnson number 2, Carter, Pirine based on the preseason. I do think Ty Johnson has a chance to get the boatload of carries as well as Mike Carter, but Tevin Coleman's definitely, the veteran of the group. So what's your thoughts of this running game going into the season?
Yeah, I like the fact that they have a bunch of guys that look like they could be some real players for them in this offense. I mean, if you follow what the Niners have done with their running backs the last couple of years, they don't have a number 1 guy, right? It's based on matchups. It's based on fit. I like the fact that you could bring in fresh legs from time to time throughout the game. But I think early on, we'll probably see Tevin Coleman be the starting running back for this team. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to be out there and he's going to be, taking 25 carries a game. I don't think that's how the Jets are going to deploy him, but he knows the offense. He's the veteran of the group. He obviously was with Saleh in San Francisco. He was with LaFleur in San Francisco. He's a guy that can be versatile out of the backfield as a receiver, in addition to, of course, being a runner on the outside. So I think he's the guy early on. I'm optimistic that Michael Carter is going to have a significant impact on this team as a rookie. And then I think you got to like what Ty Johnson brings to the table with his speed. And, I'm not giving up on the Michael Pirine either. I think you can never have enough good players. And, time will tell if Pirine can be a good NFL player.
Yeah, and I think the one question mark for this Jets offense that every Jets fan can agree with is the tight end position. But yesterday, we saw a man, Tyler Kroft, get in the end zone twice. So what's your thoughts of the tight end position? And do you think Tyler Kroft can become the tight end number one and Zach Wilson's going to get him involved throughout the offense? Because in San Francisco, we know that they have George Kittle over there, and the tight end position is a really big part of this offense. So what's your thoughts of the tight end position for the Jets?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Tyler Kroft played really well. I mean, obviously the numbers back it up. He had 2 touchdowns. But look, I mean, there were some reports that he had the case of the drops in practices. So it's good to see that when the lights come on, Tyler Kroft was able to make some plays against the Packers yesterday. I don't think the Jets are going to be an offense that's heavily tight end oriented. I think they just need the tight ends when they're open to catch the football. And if Tyler Kroft could do that, he's tight end number one, because we know Chris Herndon, even though he has probably more physical talent than Tyler Kroft, I've nicknamed him Stone Hands Chris Herndon because he can't catch the football when it's thrown at him. So I think Kroft's going to be the guy early on, and let's see if maybe Herndon will get an opportunity and take advantage of it, because he has just not been the player I think every Jet fan thought he was potentially going to be when we saw him and Sam Darnold play so well at the end of that 2018 season.
Yeah, I mean, every Jets fan, including myself, has been waiting for Chris Herndon to become the rookie Chris Herndon that we saw that rookie season with Sam Darnold. So hopefully we can see that from him this year. But every year I'm expecting it, and it never happens. But it's a good thing that Tyler Kroft looks like a guy. And I got a lot of Buffalo Bills fans tuning into my streams all the time. And they tuned into my live play-by-play reaction yesterday during the game. And they're like, yo, Tyler Kroft, like Richie, he's going to be good for you guys. Like, he was awesome for us. And it's good to hear, Buffalo Bills fans tell Jets fans that Kroft is not a scrub and he's a very good passing, catching tight end. So let's move on to the special teams, because they look pretty good yesterday. We have a kicker making his Jets debut, and Matt Amendola hitting a 54-yarder. Wow. When I saw him go up there and line up for that 54-yarder, I said in my head, if he hits this, he's our kicker this year. I don't want to hear it. And then he goes on and finishes the game 3 for 3 and 2 for 2 after the touchdown point after. So what was your thoughts of Matt Amendola and the special teams yesterday?
Yeah, it was great to see a Jets kicker actually make kicks. That's been a rarity the last couple seasons at times for this team, as every Jet fan knows. So it was really cool to see him hit those kicks, to do it on the road, to do it at Lambeau Field. I think he won the job. I mean, unless he just implodes against the Eagles next week, I think Amendola is going to be the kicker week 1. And look, you can't argue with it. He's been the guy that has hit his kicks, hit a 50-plus yarder in a preseason game. That's going to win you the job. So as long as he's healthy and doesn't implode next week, I think Amendola is going to be the Jets kicker this year.
Yeah, and then we also have the other guy in special teams, which is our second-year player, Braden Mann. He was unfortunately a little too busy for our liking yesterday, but when he did punt the ball, I think he had like 5 out of 6 of his punts landed inside the 20-yard line, which is a good sign from Braden Mann. And we also had a very good return from Ballantyne, who I think was like a 73-yarder. So what are your thoughts of those two players on special teams?
Yeah, Braden Mann played well. I mean, he played well last year. I mean, he certainly got a lot of practice at punting with how crappy the Jets offense was, as we all know. So, I like the pick. I actually watched him a lot at Texas A&M down here. The station I work for, ESPN Houston, we carry the A&M game, so I got a chance to see him, actually play in college, and he was an All-American, right? I think he was the punter of the year, whatever the award is called in college football. So it was a good pick. You might as well take a 6th-round pick on your franchise punter if you can. And Joe Douglas did that in 2020. So, he played well yesterday, obviously. You hope you don't see him that much in the regular season. Exactly. But, if you do have to see him, you might as well have a really good punter.
So who are some players that have had a really good preseason that is not being talked about enough, whether it's on offense, defense? There's always some players under the radar, whether it's even the backups on the second, third team that comes to mind.
Yeah, I'll give you a guy. I think Braxton Berrios has played pretty well. I think he's going to make this team. I think he does a lot on special teams. He's obviously been a returner for them. He catches the football. I think he's been effective in the slot at times. We know Jamison Crowder does have a history of potentially getting hurt. Elijah Moore, who's also a guy that's going to see some time in the slot, he's been banged up. So I think Braxton Berrios is a good player, a guy that the Jets should certainly be keeping around. Yesterday he only had 2 catches for 17 yards, but he was he was targeted 4 times. I think he's a guy that could be a real fit in this offense going forward. So, I'm excited to see what he could do. And, I'll give you a guy. I think Bryce Hall could take a big step this year in the secondary. I thought he was pretty good yesterday. He made a couple nice tackles. He's a guy that probably should have been drafted a lot higher if he didn't get hurt his last year in college. So I think the Jets smartly took a chance on the guy in the later rounds with upside. So those are 2 guys that I look at and say, all right, maybe we got something there with a Berrios and a Bryce Hall, going into this upcoming season.
So what are your thoughts about the wide receiver room? Because yesterday was really interesting. We saw Jeff Smith taking first-team snaps. Denzel Mims was not playing with a hip injury. So what are your thoughts of the whole wide receiver depth chart? Who do you think is, if you had to guess, who are the starters or who's going to make the team rather going into the regular season? Is Denzel Mims going to be a guy that's going to, still work his way up? I think that injury did not help his case. We know what happened with him with the, salmon. He lost a lot of weight going into OTAs, and he's been trying to work his way up the depth chart. So what's your overall thoughts of the wide receiver room and getting, Vincent Smith and Jeff Smith are getting, snaps with the first team?
Yeah, I think that's just a product of the injuries they have with a guy like Jeff Smith. I mean, give him credit. He made a couple of plays, which is good to see. But, I mean, you kind of know what you have with this receiver group, right? I mean, Corey Davis is your one. Elijah Moore and Jamison Crowder and Keelan Cole are all going to play, a big role on this team and play, the bulk of the snaps. I think Braxton Berrios makes this team. Denzel Mims, it's unfortunate he got hurt because he did look pretty good against the Giants in week 1 of the preseason, had that big catch where he made like 20 dudes miss. So that was good to see. I am a big Denzel Mims believer. I like his physical traits. Obviously, all the time he's missed now last season and so far this summer has hurt his development, I'm sure. But I wouldn't give up on him. I think he makes the team. And we'll see. It depends how many wide receivers they truly want to keep. I haven't been able to really figure out necessarily what they're going to want to do there.
Yeah, that's really hard to predict. And now let's flip it over to the cornerback room because you brought up Bryce Hall. This is a group that a lot of Jets fans have a lot of concerns with. Some people say we got to bring in a veteran cornerback because we're so young and inexperienced, and we saw yesterday. So what's your thoughts of the cornerback room? I think Bryce Hall is definitely going to be our CB1, but that CB2 spot's up in the air. Rookie Brandon Echols is making a case to really get that job. Bless Austin's banged up, so he did not play yesterday. We got Jason Pinnock. We got a Lamar Jackson. And then in the slot, we have Javelin Guidry and Michael Carter II. So what's your overall thoughts of the cornerback room heading into the season?
Certainly a young group. I mean, look, the Jets could have went out there with all their cap space. They could have brought in some veterans to that position. They elected not to. So I think it's one of those things where you're putting a lot of faith in Robert Saleh and Jeff Obrecht that their defensive scheme will maximize the young talent they have. I think the Jets also look at it like, look, we don't have playoff expectations this year. We're trying to rebuild. The way to rebuild is to find out what young talent you do have. And the only way to see that is by playing them. So the Jets are certainly going with the youth movement in the secondary, but there's been some guys that have looked good. I mean, Echols, I thought has looked good. I like Bless Austin and Bryce Hall getting the opportunity. I think in the right scheme, they could be effective players. I don't know if there's any Darrelle Revises or Antonio Cromarties in this secondary, but we're going to find out if there's some real players here because the Jets certainly are going with youth and inexperience, and that could bite this team in the rear end, or it could lead to this team, finding some players for the future based on the playing time they're going to get the chance to get this season.
Exactly, Jake. That's what I try to remind Jets fans, that this is not the year where the Jets are going all in and win the division and go to the Super Bowl. I think we know where this team is at right now. That's why they're going with the approach of letting the young guys play, because if they bring in a veteran for 1 year, yeah, he might be playing a little better, but for the long-term grand scheme of things, we'd rather give the young guys an opportunity to see what they got, because the only way they can develop is actually getting playing time. And I feel like we have a very young secondary that's hungry and a scheme that's going to work in there with the front seven attacking the quarterback at all times. So let's talk about head coach Robert Saleh. So what's your first impressions of him so far in his first 2 preseason games? He has 2 challenges. He's 2 for 2. He has 2 W's. We see him having, post-game speeches that fires people up. Just seeing him on the sidelines makes me smile, because last year it was a really tough time watching Adam Gase being isolated from everybody else. So what's your first impressions of head coach Robert Saleh so far?
Well, he's not Adam Gase, right? So he's automatically going to be, highly regarded, at least by Jet fans early on here. Look, he's still in the honeymoon period. I've talked about this a lot on my show. I mean, Robert Saleh could do anything right now, and people would argue it's great because he's not, Adam Gase, and even before that, he's not Todd Bowles, who also was terrible. Yet Adam Gase made Todd Bowles somehow look like, Vince Lombardi in comparison. But I'll say this: I think Robert Saleh is a guy that is the perfect type of coach for what this team needs. A guy that could change the culture. Some guys talk about leadership. Robert Saleh actually exemplifies what being a leader is all about. I think players rally around him. I think his lines of communication with his guys have been really impressive so far. Look, we don't know, what he is as a head coach. We just know he was a really good defensive coordinator. We just know that he comes, highly regarded by so many people around the league. So we're not going to know until the games start. And heck, we're probably not going to know until at least a couple seasons, right? I mean, Todd Bowles went 10-6 in his first year as Jets head coach, and it fell apart after that. So we're not going to know for sure, but I've been excited about what he has done thus far. And the real test is going to be, do the Jets get better as the year goes on? Do these young players develop as the year goes on? When Zach Wilson has a bad game or two, which is going to happen as all rookie quarterbacks have those type of games, how will Robert Saleh handle dealing with Zach Wilson and coaching him up from that point forward? I like a lot of the hires the Jets have made on their coaching staff. So that's a credit to Robert Saleh. So overall, I think it's a good start, and time will tell long term. But I think if you're a Jet fan, you should be very excited about your head coach as well.
Exactly, man. I just feel like his energy, his genuine, he's very a guy that every time he speaks, I just believe. I felt like whenever Adam Gase spoke to the media, he was lying to our faces, and Robert Saleh, everything he says, he just feels more genuine. It's a breath of fresh air for Jets fans. So let's shift to the offensive side of the ball before we wrap up this stream. Let's talk about the offensive line, because I think this is the X factor of the offense. I think everybody can agree with that. It all starts up front with the trenches. Ever since Joe Douglas came here, he said we need to build this offensive line and defensive line first before we can worry about anything else. So we have Mekhi Becton entering year 2. We have Elijah Vera-Tucker, our first-round pick, who is supposed to be the best guard out of this draft class. Unfortunately, he's banged up with a pec injury, but it looks like he'll be back practicing this week, which is a good sign. And then we have all returning guys like Connor McGovern and Greg Van Roten. And then George Fant and Morgan Moses are competing for that right tackle spot. So what's your expectations for this offensive line? Do you think they're going to be better in the run game, passing game? So let me know.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I think this line is significantly improved. I mean, you talk about Mekhi Becton now going into year 2, drafting Elijah Vera-Tucker when he comes back. I can't wait to see, what he could bring to this team. And then obviously, getting Morgan Moses so late in free agency, I thought was one of the best moves any team in the NFL made. And to have him now on your, at right tackle, and then as a backup, you got a guy like George Fant, who's been a starter in this league for a long time. Personal reasons yesterday, Moses can't play. Okay, well, you have George Fant to slide in and play right tackle and did a good job protecting Zach Wilson. So I thought, the fact is the Jets went out there and they have drastically improved this offensive line. I also think this line's going to be better because they're going to be better coached. The Jets are going to run a scheme that's going to get the ball out quickly. They're going to run a scheme that features movement and play action and guys in motion. And I think all that helps keep an offensive line fresh. And I think that helps keep, Zach Wilson upright, which is something that Sam Darnold never had. So I'm very optimistic about this O-line. They're still a work in progress. I don't think they're ever going to stop looking to improve the line. They got more draft picks this offseason. They have cap flexibility to continue to add to it. But as far as left tackle, left guard, and right tackle, I think if you're a Jet fan, you should feel really good about where they're at right now.
So to finish off the stream, we're going to talk about Zach Wilson. I want you to give me your expectations for his rookie season, where at the end of the year, the season's over. Zach Wilson played all 17 games, hopefully. What should Jets fans look for in order to feel comfortable that this is the guy for the future? Whether it's wins, losses, whether it's stats, whether I'm cool, collected. What do you want to see from Zach Wilson in order for Jets fans to feel comfortable with our quarterback going into year 2 down the line?
Yeah, it's tough to predict the stats, especially in a 17-game season, because I'm not good at math. So it makes it a lot harder now to try and figure out, how all the statistics exactly work. But I'll tell you what, I want to see Zach Wilson just play all 17 games for one, because there were some concerns. Oh, is he going to be able to stay healthy in the NFL? So I think that would be a real good sign if he could stay healthy, stay upright for a full regular season. That was something that Sam Darnold never did in 3 years as the Jets quarterback. So Wilson, for one, making it through his rookie season fully healthy, I think would be a great sign. And just I want to see him get better as the year goes on. I'm not expecting him week 1 to go out there and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, right? But I would like to see some potential throughout the season, right? If he does make mistakes, I'd like to see him learn from those mistakes, right? If he's going to throw a pick, I'd like to see him not throw the same type of interception later on in that same game or in a game after that point. I mean, I like Sam Darnold a lot, but I felt like too many times he was making the same type of interception, and 3 years in, you just can't have that. So Wilson will make mistakes. He's a rookie in the NFL. I'm not expecting him to go out there and be Justin Herbert, but Justin Herbert even had a couple bad games last year. So it's going to happen. But I just want to see Wilson stay healthy, get better as the year goes on, and really just spread the ball out to a bunch of different receivers, right? Not look like a guy that's overwhelmed by the moment. I don't think he will be. I'm very excited about what he could do. But I think the main thing is his play going to get better as the year goes on, and does he take care of the football? If he does that, I think you'll be very excited about, what he could potentially do going into year 2, year 3 going forward.
I agree, man. I think Jets fans should be very excited about this team this year, and we have to realize what the expectations are. We're not going all in for the playoffs. Not saying we can't shock the world and do it. You never know what could happen. You know, Jake and I are Knicks fans. Did we think that the Knicks are going to be the 4th seed last year? I don't think so. But I'm not going to compare the Jets and the Knicks because they're completely different situations right now. But I just want to make sure Jets fans understand that this year is not – it's all about the development of our young quarterback, the young defense, the young players on offense. We have a rookie head coach, a rookie offensive play caller. So we have to ground our expectations, understand that this is the year to build a foundation, form an identity, and have a culture where, you know, after this year is all said and done, you know, people around the NFL look at the Jets and say, damn, they are trending in the right direction. We have 2 firsts and 2 seconds next year. We still have a lot of cap flexibility. So this is the year where we can really form an identity where, you know, people line up against us and we're not the same old Jets. And I feel like Jets fans can expect that with head coach Robert Saleh and this young, exciting offensive defense. So Jake, I really appreciate you coming on the show. It means a lot. I know you're doing great things over there in ESPN and your show in particular, talking about the Jets, posting all your segments on YouTube. So before I let you go, do you want to let anybody know what you're doing and how you're feeling about this Jets team?
Yeah, feeling good, man. I'm really excited. I hope a lot of Jet fans that are, you know, looking to travel to watch a road game this year come to the Houston game in late November. I know NRG Stadium's going to be loaded up with Jet fans because I don't think the Texans are going to be very good. So let's take over NRG Stadium on, I think it's November 29th. So for any Jet fans that are coming down to Houston, definitely, you know, message me. I'm on Twitter at Jake Asman. I can give you any restaurant recommendation, hotel recommendation, whatever you need. I got you there. And yeah, I mean, you know, I do a YouTube channel, as you mentioned, Richie, talking about the Jets. So if anyone could subscribe down below, I think you posted the link. I would greatly appreciate it. Richie, I got to get you on my show too, man. So we'll certainly continue the Jets conversation. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I'd love to be on your show. And guys, again, make sure you subscribe to Jake down below and check out his Twitter handle. That is down below in the description. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We have over 100 people watching live right now. Smash that thumbs up button if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe to Jets Media and Jake. We appreciate all the love. Let's go, Jets.